Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm watching what's hiding at the most solitary place on earth, the deep sea by Kurzgesagt. I'm assuming it's just going to be things like giant squid and anglerfish, but maybe there's something more. So let's watch it. Link to the original video will be down in the description below.
Sometimes the world feels, boring. We've visited all the remote islands, conquered the Arctic, and penetrated the deepest jungles. But there is still one place to explore.
Space.
It's a wet and
the
deadly
ocean.
desert inhabited by mysterious creatures living in total darkness. The deep sea. Let's dive down.
Gotta conquer the deep sea first before you can go to space. Get complete 100% control of all of Earth. Then you can move on to other planets.
When we look at the sheer scale of the Earth's oceans, it's hard to believe that less than 2% of all biomass on Earth lives here. And of that small percentage,
apparently ants make up like more than 10% of all the biomass from all the animals. I think it was more than 10%. Or was it 20? I don't know. I don't remember. But ants make up a lot. Although it is surprising that fish are such a small percentage. I would have assumed a lot more.
around 90% is located close to the surface in the first 200 meters. This is where we begin our journey.
Yeah, that's where most life in the ocean
Light can
is.
still penetrate the water, which allows photosynthesis to occur. Phytoplankton, trillions and trillions of single-celled algae and bacteria make up the foundation of the ocean's ecosystem, and they're consumed by bigger plankton who are consumed by other species. The seafloor at this depth is akin to the Amazon rainforest and is often covered with coral reefs, algae and other sea plants that are home to a plethora of sea animals. So far we've focused most of our attention on this comparatively pleasant environment where we fish, swim,
Makes sense.
pollute and do science.
It's also where most life in the ocean
let's
is.
dive deeper. Moving
Hold on, that's a
to
Pokemon.
science.
That's a Pokemon, 100%.
So, let's dive deeper. Moving from familiar coastal waters into deeper, more remote waters, we eventually reach the edge of the continental shelf, where we're confronted with the continental slope, the long descent down to the deep sea. With every additional meter of water, light fades drastically, which means there are basically no more plants, and the seemingly steep continental slope begins to remind us of the surface of the moon. Looking out, we're faced by what seems to be endless open water.
If there's no light here, wouldn't most of the things that live down this deep be blind? Okay, maybe not at this depth, because this is only like 300 meters so far. But I would assume that anything below 1,000 meters is just completely blind, because there's pretty much no sunlight there.
Let's leave the slope behind us and enter what's known as the Twilight Zone, the portal to the deep sea. As we sink down further, the water pressure rises to deadly levels. The deepest scuba dive ever came in at 332 meters. At that depth, the pressure is like having 200 cars stacked on top of you. Yet we've only
200 cars,
completed
that's what, 400
3%
tons?
of our journey. While this region seems pretty grim, many fish and other animals actually spend at least half their lives down here. During the day, it's a good place to rest and recover, hidden from predators in the vast, dark waters. At night, they can travel more safely into shallower zones to feed in the food-rich surface waters. In this transition zone between twilight and darkness, light becomes a powerful tool. Over 90% of the species indigenous to this deep environment use bioluminescence chemicals to create light.
So they just glow?
They do so as camouflage against the very faint sunlight, to send signals to potential mates, or to confuse and scare attackers. Or they use light to hunt. Another
like
tool for
anglerfish.
survival in the dark is teamwork. At around 700 meters, we encounter
What the
a
heck is
colony
that?
of siphonophores. They can be up to 50 meters in length, but are only as wide as a broomstick. To attract prey, a colony creates a
Telling me that's a living organism, or a colony of different living organisms.
tragically beautiful bright blue or red light and deploys a curtain of tentacles filled with toxic needles that kill anything that comes too close. But most species living down here have to rely on an unlikely resource, marine snow. White, flaky stuff
Excuse me?
that constantly sinks from the surface to the bottom of the ocean.
Oh.
It consists of dead plant or animal parts, fecal matter, shells, sand, or dust. Even though this doesn't sound very tasty, without this crucial resource, life in the deep sea would starve. It's in this area that the most fascinating battles between
So pretty much all of the, or at least a lot of the creatures down here are like the cleanup crew.
two unlikely enemies could happen.
Giant squids and sperm
hunt
whales?
and attack a giant squid the size of a house. While the squid fight back ferociously, they probably don't stand a chance, but they do leave permanent marks on their killer's skin. As we reach 1,000 meters, deeper than the
I wish I could see like a video of a sperm whale and a giant squid fighting each other. Imagine how crazy that must look. I don't think it's ever been filmed, I don't think anyone's ever seen it, and that sucks because I would really love to see that.
tallest structure built by humans, we need to be careful. This is the Midnight Zone, a place
So zero
of
light?
utter darkness.
So this is
barely explored wet
no light
wasteland
zone.
consisting of nothing but endless black open water. At these depths, it's harder for a human to take a swim than to take a walk in space. Finding food down here is really hard, so life had to adapt and become extremely energy efficient. Like the 30-centimeter long vampire squid that floats through the water without motion, with long and
Vampire
slender
squid?
catching arms extended. They're covered in tiny, stiff hairs which brush food from the water. This saves a lot of energy compared to actively catching food. For carnivorous fish, it's much harder to find food since living prey is quite rare down here.
I mean, this is really just a perfect example of evolution, how creatures adapt to survive in any conditions.
So the hunters have to get a perfect grip on their victim on first strike, otherwise it will escape into the dark. Many deep-sea predators have several sets of long and deadly teeth. Like the viperfish, which uses its long fangs to trap even large prey and swallow it whole.
Oh,
Or the frilled shark
that's
with
horrendous.
its impressive set of 300 teeth, which are
Frilled
which are
shark?
curved backwards to hook their victims in their mouths. We sink further, below the 3,800 mark, as deep as the grave of the Titanic. We are now at abyssal depths. Here, life happens in slow motion. Preserving every last bit of energy is crucial for survival.
So it's like they're just
Everything down here
motionless?
hovers motionless or swims in a slow, elegant fashion. The only time the animals living in this zone move fast is when they have to escape danger.
when they're trying
Like
to
the
run away
Dumbo
from death.
octopod paddling with its ear-like fins, or the grenadier's fish with its slow, eel-like tail beats. At 4,000 meters, we finally reach ground again. The abyssal
What
plain.
even lives down here?
It's covered in grey mud and rocks, dusted with the remains of marine snow, which is consumed by animals like sea cucumbers, shrimp, sea urchins, and sea worms. In some regions of the seafloor, small, dark mineral deposits can be seen. These are manganese nodules. Deep-sea corals and sponges use them to anchor themselves on the bottom of the sea. Though life is sparse on the deep seafloor, even down here there are oases. In the rift valleys, where tectonic plates are splitting apart, magma heats up seawater and creates dark jets
Like
of water
crabs?
and minerals as hot as 400 degrees Celsius that form
You're telling me crabs somehow live this deep?
elaborate chimneys and towers. Extremophile bacteria use the minerals to create organic substances that are the basis for unique ecosystems. As we descend further, we reach the deepest point of the abyssal plain at 6,000 meters.
To me, it really seems like the deeper you get, the less scary the ocean gets. Because at these depths, there's practically no big animals that could threaten you and eat you. I mean, most of the stuff that lives down here is just like tiny, you know, like those shrimps, sea cucumbers. What are the chances of those things killing you? Obviously, it doesn't really matter because if you ever go outside of whatever submarine you're in, you're just going to get immediately crushed because of the pressure, but it does make it a lot less scary.
For most of the seafloor, this is as deep as it gets. But if we want
But
to
it
get
goes
to the
down to
deepest point of
11,000.
the oceans, we're actually only halfway there. Let's enter the Hadal Zone, the underworld of the sea. It consists of
Hadal,
long, narrow trenches
after
that only
Hades.
make up around 0.25% of the oceans and are among the most extreme environments on Earth. Only extremophiles exist down here, like the ethereal snailfish that holds the record for the deepest living fish ever seen at around 8,000 meters.
So there's actually still fish at 8,000 meters deep. What the hell?
We see spiky and sharp black rocks rush by as we sink down to more than 10,000. Until we reach the final slope, a trench inside the larger
Really not much about this zone because there's pretty much nothing in it.
Mariana Trench with gently sloping sides that enframe a valley about 1.6 kilometers wide. This is it, the deepest point, the Challenger Deep, 11,000 meters below the surface. The water pressure here is 1,086 bar. Taking a swim here is like having to balance
1,800 elephants.
1,800 elephants on top of you. But
How much does an elephant weigh? Like 4 tons?
even here, life has found a way to thrive. Next to sea cucumbers, white and light pink amphipods wiggle their way through the water. Their size is astounding. While their shallow water cousins are merely a few centimeters long,
Wow.
the deep sea version can reach up to 30 centimeters.
Bruh. But how are they that big? I mean, the bigger they are, the more food they require, right? I would imagine that a 5 centimeter, what are those things? Whatever, let's call them shrimp. Probably not a shrimp, but whatever. I would imagine that a 5 centimeter one would require a lot less food than a 30 centimeter one. So how the hell do they find enough to live?
And there are other things floating elegantly through the water. Plastic bags that were found by scientists in 2018.
This deep?
Even the remotest place on Earth is not safe from human influence.
Wow. Holy
There's
crap.
nothing left to do now, and our oxygen is running out, so we begin our ascent.
To think trash somehow managed to find its way
After hours
all the
of
way
traveling
down
through
there.
dark nothingness, we finally see a glimpse of light. We arrive back at a calm surface. The oceans are so deep. There is so much of them. We owe it to ourselves and to our descendants to preserve them as well as we can. There are still so many wondrous things left to be discovered.
Man, I wish I could take a trip down to the Marianas Trench. Just the thought of being at the deepest point in the ocean that we've ever discovered. I don't know, there's just something about it. Just seeing what it actually looks like down there. Just complete darkness, and then you just shine a light and you see practically nothing. Practically no life. Well, except for those 30 centimeter big, let's once again just call them shrimp. Okay, they called them amphipods. 30 centimeter big amphipods. Just imagine that. You expect just pure nothingness, and then you just see 30 centimeter big creatures walking around. I would love to go down there and just see what it's like. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing and giving a like. If you're interested, why not watch this video right here? And with that, I hope I'll see you in the next video.